Good to see you. So let's get started. I wrote a shaping plan. I see that I just went in the Facebook group, just 5 minutes. I had 5 minutes to spare. So I'm like, so I saw you were busy, Loes, writing your plan. Did you start it, Steffi?
Yes, I already posted it, but it was just, I think, 30 or 1 hour ago, so I couldn't make it earlier, and it was really, really hard job.
Yes,
I think you did a great job. I read it just as fast. It's under my shaping plan thingy posts.
I think. Oh, okay. I'll do a quick look. Without sharing, because otherwise. Oh, yeah, Steffi also. Okay, maybe I should try to share so we can talk about it if you like, because it is a challenge. It is super difficult to write a good one. The more you do it, the easier it is. Mm-hmm. And that's why I really wanted to encourage you to make a start. And the better shaping plan you have, the easier it is to train, because you basically make a really good checklist, and then you can say check, can touch the target, check, can go to a target, check, and then you know exactly what you have done, which really motivates you, and what you still need to do. And the part that you still need to do, maybe it is even it's longer than the list that you have done. But don't forget, your horse can lump. Your horse can make connections, and they do. Oh, I have half of the alphabet, and then they come up with the other letters themselves. So you can go choo choo choo, check check check, did that, and then it speeds up the training, because you know exactly where your holes are. Like, oh yeah, he's not even touching the cone. He walks to it, and then he's like, yeah, where's my treat? Okay, let's work on that for 1 or 2 sessions. Then you strengthen that behavior, and which makes it easier to go to the next one. Even if you have like skipped a little step sometimes, that will keep you stuck. That is the same thing as that we become a part of the cue with us moving with or in front of the horse. If you don't realize that's the cue, you don't realize that you have to change the setup to fade out your own movement as body cue, so that you can move forward, because you can never stand in the middle and direct your horse to go around the cones if he thinks, but you're not doing it, so I don't know. So then you have to just go back to the basics, confirm what he already knows, and build from there, but then it goes much quicker. Also, a shape, I printed mine out. I came up to 90 steps in total. Oh, don't let that encourage you. I can make it 200 if I take the time. The more steps, the faster you will go through it. So instead of let it discourage you, like, oh, 90 steps and I only know 5. No, it's more detailed. So, and then you can also recognize when your horse is kind of lumping and moving forward, and make that connections and come up with behavior themselves. For instance, if you say, okay, we have a cone, now he can touch a cone. I'll just put that cone like 20 centimeters in front of him and start training distance. So 20 centimeters, okay, he understands that he has to move towards that. Then you do 25 centimeters. That's the next step in your shaping plan. But if you don't write it down, that you really have to build on distance, like literally sometimes millimeter per millimeter, depending on the behavior, or centimeter per centimeter. Then people think, okay, I put the cone here on 20 centimeters distance, check. So let's put it over there, 3 meters. And your horse is like, what? I don't know. Here's a mat. Let's stand on the mat because I don't know. And then we don't realize that we are lumping, because from 20 centimeters to 3 meters is way, way, way too much. I've seen a lot of videos in the group as well, not only from this group, but also previous groups, that people start to try to copy the end goal behavior instead of training every behavior separately, and then slowly combine them together. And it's important because the way you do it determines the outcome. If we say like, okay, let's bake a cake, and I put the flour, the sugar, the butter in one lump, and the eggs together, and then put it in the oven, there will not be a cake. It is crucial. Cooking is chemistry. It's crucial that you just mix the butter and the sugar first, and then add the eggs slowly, and then add the flour at the last step before putting it in the oven, because otherwise there will be no dough, and then it all falls apart. And training is a little bit like that. As soon as you understand that you have to, when you're training a super complex behavior like the reverse rectangle, it's super complex because it's all those things. Like the horse needs to be comfortable to walk away from you, because maybe that he has never done that. He has to know how to what a cone is, and that the cone is not the cue, but the cue from the trainer is the cue, and the information. What do I have to do? Do I have to knock it over? Do I have to touch it with my nose? Do I have to go around it? Do I have to ignore it? And so those separate things are already things that you can put in your shaping plan. If you try to send your horse around the cone, and every time, and there's also a video that I have that Kira is like, oh, let's touch it. Here's my cone. Let's touch it. And then I'm like, no, I want you to walk around it. And then when I cue go around, she's like, oh, yeah, that gives me information. So let's do that, and then receive a reinforcer, instead of like, okay, I'm touching it, nothing happened. I'm touching it, nothing happened. Okay, here's an extinction bird. Touch, 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 touch. Frustration, frustration. Finally, that touching dies out, but that's not what you want. You don't want to let the touching the cone go extinct. You want to keep that in your repertoire because it is so handy for a million things. So therefore you need to practice like, okay, like touching the cone, walking around the cone, ignoring the cone, all these things you can train in a separate session before you can all like making a necklace, all the beads, put them together in that order that you would like to have it. Good morning, good evening. I mean, Ina, nice to see you. Would you like me to go a little bit over the shaping plans and share where you were stuck? Let's see if I can share my screen with Facebook. This is Steffi's one.
Yes.
Let's see if I can, if that was, anyway. My goal is that Amor is able to go around in a rectangle in walk, trot, and canter. Liberty in a balanced way by himself without me to walk with him. He should be able to step under with his hind leg into his front leg. He should be able to do it in both directions. I think that's a fabulous, clear goal. So for the shaping plan, in these 90 steps, I did not add, for instance, that that the horse carries himself. Okay. So if you would like to do that, then you and I have I have trained Kira literally to do that. So, and it started out, for instance, step 1, standing in balance. So
Yes.
standing square, that's how I started. Then when they walk away, try to make sure that their weight is a little bit on the hindquarters. Then step away, starting with the hind leg first. But those are things that you could do from standing still, but you can also approach it depending on the horse, that you just start walking and only click for the inner hind leg, because we just do one thing at the time per session. So if you click for stepping over the footprint of the front hoof,
Yes.
then you can click the moment he's almost at the ground, because then he cannot change his mind. So there you can click already. If you click for that he's putting his leg on the ground, sometimes we are too late and they're already lifting it. So look at the time, the moment that he kind of has to go do this behavior, the point of no return. Like, okay, when he lifts his hind leg up and under, and you can click before he puts it on the ground, because once it is like so far being brought towards his center of gravity, if you can click that, mark that, he will know. And that's a matter of, first you just go observe, okay, this is when he doesn't do that, this is when he does do that, and then you start clicking for that moment. Sometimes, and this is a tip that I got from, I don't know who told me that, but it was so clear. Oh, it was the osteopath that I got for Kira. He's like, yeah, I know your positive reinforcement and all that, but if you teach your horse to walk over, for instance, over poles, and they hit the pole with one of the legs, what really helps is to take a whip and then strike that leg, so they get into connection with that leg more, so they will be more conscious of that leg, and then try to walk those poles again, because 9 out of 10 times they will they have learned that it's that leg that they have to do more conscious lifting. So I did that. I didn't do it with a whip, but I just stroke her leg. So, oh, she's touching the pole with her left front. I stopped, stroked her left front, got out of the series of poles, like 5 or 6, turned around, again, touched that leg that she stumbled with, went over, it went well if it was another leg. And it is so bad, too bad that I don't think I have a video of that, because I just had to do it once, and then the whole problem was solved. So if you want to teach them, this is the leg that I am going to pay attention to, strike that leg, start walking, and then click that leg, because they will make that connection. So that is like, I can think of 15 steps to add to this one, and then I have like over 100 steps. Description of your approach. My plan is to prepare him for initiating movement and to make sure that he gets along with walking from cone to cone. Then I will increase both distance and faster movements, trot and canter. Perfect. And then list of behaviors. Initiate walking behavior, understand that I will follow his movement. I wouldn't do that. I would like you to teach him from the beginning that he has to, for the reverse rectangle, he has to do it on his own.
Yes.
Otherwise, the pitfall is that you stay stuck in that you need to follow your horse in his movement. That was just a little exercise to make you aware of what happens. So following the horse is really good if you do in-hand walks. For instance, if they have laminitis, you cannot send them around. If you
Yes.
have to
Okay.
start before, then that is really good. But I wouldn't incorporate that in the reverse rectangle exercise. So that was super well done. Let's see, lots of steps. So for Loes said that you were stuck in the short description of your approach, right?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, but I saw you said we discussed that in another. I was a little bit tired when we did that, so I forgot we talked about it.
So what I did is I looked at that part where I explained it up in the video, and I shared that video, and it starts at 41 minutes in the last training. So we start describing the short description. I just did it 5 minutes ago, so no worries if you missed that.
Okay, thank you. I did ask a question in the group about something in my shaping plan. I will look it up on my phone so I can still see you. And I tell the question to you. I think that's easier. Let's see if I can find it. No, of course not.
Oh, that's okay.
Steffi, you saw it, right? My
Yes,
question.
I think I saw it. There are so many information. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you liked it, but why can't I find it? There's so much in the
Yes, but
group.
yes,
Oh yeah. I will read what I posted. I asked, can we talk about cues and in what order to teach them? When working on my shaping plan, this was something that made it a mess. I will.
yes.
I'm not getting it clear for myself with the cones and the moving. At first, I teach going to the cone on a cue cone or pointing the cone. I want him to ignore the cones later and walk past them and don't touch them. But I also want to fade out the cue cone and add the cue walk, trot, or canter. In what order do I do it, and how do I change the cue cone and to the cue walk?
Yes, that's a super good and super valid question. In the reverse rectangle, I try to work as little as possible with verbal cues, because otherwise I can think of.
Sandra, you are standing still.
Yeah, I know. I always get after after it happened, I get like, your internet is unstable. So in the reverse rectangle, I try to set it up that I don't need a lot of cues. The only cue you need actually is go around the cone. That is the most important one. And it's, if you train in the same setup, the same context all the time, literally make it as similar as possible. What do I mean with that? If you have 4 cones and they stand each 5 meters apart, put those cones next day exactly there where you did it before. Don't do it on the other side of the arena. Don't do it in the round pen if you worked in the arena. Make the context and the setup of your environment as uniform as possible in the beginning. That will lead to teaching the behavior the fastest, because otherwise the horse has to think, 4 cones.
You are gone again.
Okay. So we'll start over.
You said it's it's important to put everything at the same place.
If you don't do that, the horse needs to think, do you mean the same thing? Or, so you need to generalize the behavior. And that's the same thing that if people are not aware of it, but if we are happy and we say, trot, please do it. And we say, and the next day we are a little bit agitated, trot, I know you can do it. Then the trot.
I noticed it by myself.
Totally different. So the horse has no idea. If you do negative reinforcement, that whip will remind him, I don't understand you, I don't know what, but I know that whip, so better do it. In positive reinforcement, we have to be aware that if we say trot or trot, they don't know, they don't speak the way we speak, and they are not, in their genes, it's not wired to listen to that intonations that we so well understand. They do intonations in body language, but not in this. So it's really, really important to keep the setup and your cues as similar as possible. So,
and how do you do it? In the beginning, you put the cones closer together. So you want to move the cones further from each other, then the setup will change, right?
Yes, but we only change the setup that is raising your criterion one by one. Okay. So if you can send your horse to one cone first and he goes around it, that's where you start. So, and I've put it in the reverse rectangle was really, really quickly taught within a week with Kira, because that was one of the clicker challenges I did. And the clicker challenge was, we have like a purple level, which is the key lessons, which is touching the cone, basically. Then we have a green level, which is for green horses or green clicker trainers. It's super easy. That was the setup of sending your horse from one cone next to you to the next cone. And then the blue level was a little bit more difficult. That is sending your horse around the cone. And then the red level, the expert level, which is always the most difficult, was teaching your horse to send your horse around 4 cones while you stand in the middle and just one lead. That was it. And in walk, there was no, so the way I taught it, because I always like to do my own challenges to see where the pitfalls are and if it is possible. So how I trained this was with back chaining. I first taught her to go around a cone and then go around cone 4. Okay, you've done that, go around 3 and 4, and then 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I had like the whole sequence of one time around that square, because I worked in a square back then, was taught. So, but your horse will think. So in the beginning, because your question was, what was your question again? About
what was the question again?
Yeah, taking the cones further apart.
Oh, yeah.
So if you repeat one part of the behavior and you add another thing, and you do that in a way that the horse understands it, they will make that connection. I didn't really have to train to go around cone 3 and then 4. Yeah, I had to do that like 2, 3 repetitions, and Kira got it. And then I added cone 2, so she had to go 2, 3, 4, and she knew at 4 there's a jackpot. And sometimes, of course, I clicked that. In the beginning, I clicked that, yes, go to cone 2, click, cone 3, click, cone 4, click. And then I faded out the click, so I sent her to cone 2. And then I clicked, and maybe I fed at cone number 3, and then I went back, and then cone 4. So I had the same setup. So they will anticipate, oh, I'm at cone number 2, but the big reward is at 4. So, and then you see in the video, in the training that I did, oh, she started to offer trot because she wanted to get to cone 4 as quickly as possible. So that is one way to set it up. And I didn't set it up to train trot at that moment, but I was like, oh, I discovered this is a bonus. So when I get that bonus, I capture that. Oh yeah, your question was about when you change your cues from cone to walk.
Yeah.
So in the setup of the reverse rectangle, that is something that you do at the end. You always only add the final cue when the behavior is really, really strong and absolutely confirmed. And you can test that by setting up that environment in the way you've always done.
You were gone again.
Okay, so what did you hear last?
You were gone a long time.
Oh, okay. When you change, I have two cues. I call them training cue. That is the cue that the horse picks. For instance, if we walk, he follows. That's a training cue that the horse picked. We didn't train that deliberately because now we are stuck with that habit. So the training cue is the environmental cue. That's the information the horse gets from the whole setup. That is what's going on in their minds. We can influence that, but we never know exactly. If we unconsciously have different colors of cones, and we unconsciously only ask to trot at the blue cone, they might think blue cone means trot, yellow cone means nothing. We don't know.
I have one cone that's slightly different color. It didn't work that cone that good today. All the other cones went well, and at that particular cone, I had to give him some more cues.
Yes.
So maybe it was because it was a slightly different cone.
Yeah, or he has a different association with that particular cone. Could be that in the beginning,
earlier,
years ago, you only asked to touch that cone.
I only have them for 2 weeks.
Or it's a new cone, he doesn't know.
Yeah, so, they're all new.
So we need to teach them to generalize the behavior. And then, so in the reverse rectangle exercise, the only cue that is important is to send your horse around a cone. And you don't need a verbal cue, you can do that with a body cue. In the beginning, you have your target stick, and then you make the stick a little bit shorter, so it becomes the arm movement that will give that information. When you're changing from go around to cue to walk, you can do that, but it's not even necessary, because you also don't want to, if you have the walk cue, you don't want to lose that. Sometimes, because the setup is like this, you still want the horse to offer that walk first, and then you can add the walk cue later, because you want them to understand that you want them to take initiative in that movement. So if you start cueing him, then it's a question and they can say yes or no. But if they offer and they understand that they have the choice and they have control over movements, that is so powerful and reinforcing for them. That's why I want them to offer it first until it's such a habit of doing that they don't even realize, oh yes, I used to hate this. But you want them to create a mindset. Cones, when I walk around it, I get treats. Oh, nice. And then they will think, you know what? If I go faster, I get faster to the next cone because you clicked here and the next cone, there's the treat. So I will speed up after a click instead of standing still after a click. And then they think like, oh, this is fun. I can offer more. And then you can, once that mindset and that feeling is a habit in your horse, then I would recommend, then you can start adding walk, trot, canter. But in the beginning, let them offer it. And then you can click and capture like, oh, he trotted today. Let's jackpot and give him a break. And then after the break or the next day, start to do that setup, and then they will offer that again because they remember like, oh, when I trotted, I got something really, really nice. And instead of going on and on until it was so hard and boring, no, it stopped. So you reinforce it on multiple levels by making that a jackpot and giving the horse a break right then and there. So I wouldn't worry too much for now adding cues, walk, trot, canter, because the pitfall is for us trainers that we think without testing that they know what to do, and maybe they do, but maybe the cue isn't under stimulus control, and we think it is, but it's not. And we can test it by just asking the horse wherever, whenever we are, and we say walk. It doesn't matter if we're standing behind them, in front of them, they should walk off. But if they don't pay attention to the verbal cue as much as we hoped they will do, but they are paying, for instance, okay, well, there's this word which doesn't really mean anything because they say it all the time. And then there's the body. Let's see what the body says. So then you can see, like, do they react on my body, or is it the verbal cue, or is it a combination? And that's something that we have to train deliberately, and that takes time. But for the reverse rectangle, I set it up in a way and that the environment is the cue. So we don't really need to like the going around the cue, like the verbal go around or with your target stick. That is a super important cue because that gives the information like, okay, let's start going around the cones. And the speed, the walk, trot, canter is not important at this moment. They will offer it, and once they offer it, like when Kira started to offer trot consistently, like, okay, she's going from cone to cone and she walks and then she has a little trot. Then I clicked at that cone where she arrived in trot, and then I went to the next cone for her treat. So then I sat like the next day or when she was doing that more and more often, then I was like, okay, in this session, I only click for trot. So what do you think happened? She didn't do canter. She didn't walk. Yes, she did walk, but she realized, oh, the click comes when I trot. So that is when she started offering more trot. When I was a little bit further in the training, she was like, you know what? I'll get faster to cone number 3 or 4. I'll offer a canter. Wow, jackpot. And the whole exercise was oh, a break. And the next day, because I remembered you offered canter, just one session, I said, well done, good, scratches, only a click and a really nice treat. If she would offer canter, what do you think would happen? She wanted the treats more than the scratches and the voice. and the voice and the scratches are reinforcing, but not as much as what she really wanted. Food, because she's food oriented. So if I would have started to still click for walk, to still click for that, to still click for that, my horse would have think, you know what? I get clicks for 5 behaviors. Let's do the easiest one. That's the walk. And that's where we as trainers can get stuck. So what I do fade out the clicks for eventually for walk. I don't click for walk anymore. I was like, okay, walk. And if she gets really frustrated, I was like, okay, I lower my criteria, but I only click for a brisk walk, not for, because I don't want to reinforce that. So, and if I couldn't get a brisk walk and she was like very sluggish, that didn't happen. But if that would happen, I would say, you know what? We have to stop this session, but I don't click for that walk, not at all. I will just ask you to touch a target, make it easy, call it a day, end of session. So she ends on a good note. She's like, okay. And I end on a good note. She did that. And then I go back to the drawing table and think, what happened that my behavior decreased? And sometimes it is when we get stuck in a 100% reinforcement schedule. Do we understand, or do we have questions about why a 100% reinforcement schedule is important in the beginning of training a behavior? And later on, we have to switch to intermittent and fade out the reinforcers.
Yeah.
No questions? Yes, understanding?
Makes sense a lot. I have to think about it. Maybe later the questions will come.
Okay, one thing is that if you play bingo and you win, oh my God, you yell bingo, you get a prize, that is so exciting. After you play 10 rounds of bingo and you are the one having the prize, it's like, okay, bingo, oh, I get the Mars bar again. Okay, I'm full. The first one was, oh, yummy. The second one was okay, and the third one was, oh, I don't feel so good anymore. Oh, you know what? I don't play bingo anymore. But if you play, like, for instance, the lottery, you can win like $1 million or euros. Woohoo! And you don't get anything, huh? Shoot. Try again. Oh, don't get anything. Try again. And you increase that behavior. Maybe you buy 2 tickets or twice a week or whatever. Oh, you got a free play or you got $1. Woohoo! Let's try it again. The reason why lottery works is that we don't win every time. We are on an intermittent reinforcement schedule, which is to the advantage of the lottery. We always lose. There's only a few winners, but the lottery still wins. But it's because we think we have a chance. And that is really what we want in the horses. We don't want to discourage them. We don't want to not reinforce them. But we also don't want to let them opt out and say, you know what? I always get a sugar cube. I don't feel like sugar cubes. But sometimes just even alternating like treats. It's like, maybe I get the peppermint. Or the other thing is also good. I don't know what I'm gonna get. So that is where they get that Christmas feeling, that they have like that novelty wired up in their brain, like maybe. And that's where you get increased behavior and more solid, because there is a tipping point where the horse doesn't even think about it. It's like, oh, you say trot, they do it. And why do they do it? Because it always felt good to do it. And then once in a while, you reinforce it, but you can always reinforce it with other behavior. Like what I said, like if they if they've done a good job and really had to think, and you ask for standing on a pedestal, which they absolutely love, that is a reinforcement also. And they didn't know, do I get the click now or later, or do I get the reinforcement now in the form of just a treat, or, oh, I can get on the pedestal, or whatever. Something that they like, that is easy. And if you have trained it so well, there's just a pathway in the brain that they don't even think about it, and then it becomes a habit. And that's what we really want. Oh, they hear my car, they run to the gate. They don't sometimes even know why, because it's just a habit that we created. Any other questions? Ina's muted, so if you have a question, unmute yourself.
I have no question at the moment. Thank you.
Good. I also wanted to talk about management of horses. Do you feel up like this, or do you want to concentrate on the reverse rectangle and the exercises? Luz has done.
I like the exercises more, but only but do like to talk about the management if you have new other ideas than what I already did.
You had a lot of ideas, so you can, I would love it if you would share them in the group, because I think your horse is on a track system.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's for lots of people is out, it's not really out of reach, because I believe that you can do anything if you set your mind to it.
Yeah, I thought it was out of reach at our place too, but some people gave me ideas and I started to trying. It worked.
Oh, wow. So you did you initiate developing a track system?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to, but I didn't know how. And because we don't have that large pasture for the horses, I thought, yeah, then they cannot have that much exercise anymore.
Mhm.
And there are gates in the field where we have to go through with the tractor, the car. So it was very hard, but then someone was talking about U-shape and not on the outside of the fence, but on the inside. So the fence, and in that you've got the track, and it was going around. And now I have some kind of a yay shape.
Yeah.
Like
G.
like this, yeah. And it works really good. At the end, I have my place where I feed hay. At the beginning, there's water, and there's the round pen where they can lay and roll in sand. And there's a shelter too, where I hang up a hay net. Yeah, I think it really works great. And my old horse, who needs grass, can walk around it and can eat grass, and so they're still together, but the fatties don't get grass and the older one can.
Wow, that is amazing. And I think that is so inspiring to hear that you were at a place and that you made it happen, because lots of people and lots of time we think this is the setup and that's it. And we feel in that the owner of the place doesn't want to do that. I have similar experience. When I got Kira, she was 1 year old and feral. And then at my place where I boarded, it was at a dairy farm. And he went over to horses, of course, because that's a nice side income in the Netherlands. And so my friends had 2-year-old horses. My Akira was 1 year and they had 2 years. And they had like a little bit of a bigger stall in the barn. And so we asked if our little ones, because they were just ponies, could be with the 3 of them in one stall, that was already like, wow, do you want your horse together? And we were like, yes, they are young. They need to be in a group. But then it turned out that they closed the fields because it's in the north of the Netherlands. There's sea clay, so it gets all muddy. And he closed the pastures, so they stayed in. But we couldn't exercise our horses. Well, Kira was still feral. Well, not by that time anymore. But what do you do with a 1-year-old? And you have an outdoor arena, and they stand like 23 hours in a stall. That's not enough. So we started to talk about like what we would like. So we asked the farmer if our ponies could get into the field with the donkey and stay out like day and night, so he didn't have to muck the stalls, because that was his reinforcement then. And he was like, he was a little bit reluctant, but I had like 2 friends and they're so good at sales. So they sold him that idea and we could do that. And then December 18th was the worst, coldest day ever. It was like minus 15 degrees. It was super windy. It was a wind chill that was like minus 25. The horses had no shelter. So we were busy all day with trying to make a shelter with straw bales and tarps, at least that they could be out of the wind. But finally, we had to take them inside in their stalls again, because the whole horses were soaked and the whole coats were just soaked. And because it was windy, we couldn't leave them out. It was just not healthy. And then the farmer saw how much effort we put in there, how much we cared that they were taken care of, but also how much it was worth to us to keep the horses together in a group housing outside. Then we asked for a little patch on the premises. It was with cement, and he bought us a container, like the shipping containers. He bought that for us. I think it was like 300 or 500 euros, and a big crane to deliver it. So he did that for us. And we said, you know what, if we can have the horses with a shelter in their own outdoor paddock, we will feed and take care of them themselves. So he didn't have to put any labor into it. So he basically bought off the labor with that shipping container for forever, which was a really, really good deal for him and for us. So we made a schedule, and our horses were 24 hours, 7 days a week outside with a container. They got ad lib hay, because that wasn't that they got in the barn. Then that winter was so cold, there was so much ice, but because our horses walked on ice all the time, and they walked so much that the ice was broken. So our horses were so confident walking on slippery ice on the premises, we could take them to the outdoor arena, which was bigger, where they could run. All the other horses, all those people were, it's icy outside, so I keep my horse in. So at day 2, they couldn't take their horse out anymore because the horses were freaking out. So their horses were kept inside for a few weeks, and our horses were outside, and they had no problem walking on slippery surfaces because they were used to it and they were confident that they could do it. And I never thought that I could just manage to change the setup so much, but because of my friends, they were so good saleswomen. They were just like, oh, and wouldn't it be nice if you don't have to feed our horses anymore? So it's so inspirational that you share that with us, Luz, that it can be done, because I think everything can be done.
Yeah, and my horses live at my dad's place, and he wasn't happy with my ideas at first, so I implemented it step by step. when he was away.
Exactly. Step by step.
And he was scared. Oh, there are all the fencing, and maybe they get stuck in it, and oh no, that's dangerous. But now he's okay with it totally, and I think he sees now that it works. All the horses are happy now, and
That is so good. And like what we can do is like slow feeders. Sometimes we have to start with slow feeders. I even had to train Kira to use slow feeders. I started with a really nice big net and had square holes. And I was super expensive from the Netherlands. And she just ate a hole in it. And the second one, she just ate a hole in it. And then I started to train her to use slow feeders, and then that never happened again. And then at like a few years later, she managed to eat from a slow feeder with her muzzle, while there was also like loose hay on the ground. In the beginning, I thought they couldn't even eat hay with a muzzle because it's meant for grass, and then it's just growing up, and then the little hole. I don't make that gesture, but anyway, we get the idea. And they can learn so much. And what I did with the grazing muzzle for management purposes of calorie intake, my aim was always to have her as much time as possible without a muzzle. Again, I had to ask people at the barn to help me. Like, you know, would you please take the muzzle off if she's in her stable, because then she has just one net, she is by her own, the calorie intake is like all counted for. So if she eats it in 2 hours or in 12 hours, she gets what she gets, and I know how much. So I asked other people, like, oh, if you come at night and you see that Kira still has her muzzle on, would you like to take it off? And then in the morning, like, oh, if you see that she doesn't have a muzzle, would you like to put it on? Or I made an effort to come more often, especially in the beginning when she just had recovered from her laminitis. I just made way more effort to do all those things. But later on, I didn't have to do it as much. And it became easier. And when I found a different boarding facility, people were more, even more helpful to help me with that, because they understood, like, oh, the muzzle, oh, that's not so nice for the horse. I'm like, well, it's also not nice to put them in the stable by themselves all day long. No, that's true. So it's like, yeah, what is the best way for that situation? So do you have like management things that you changed, or Steffi?
Well, I came to Amor in this stable where he is living now. So he had already the situation that we had a paddock tray, what we call a paddock tray. I think it's the same as you said, a track system. So he can go around all the time. He has shelter. He has water stations and stuff. And in the middle, there's the meadow, which is open for several hours, depends on the time. So, and he has 24 hours hay. So, and he's outside 24/7 with his herd. There are 12 horses together. And this is really, really so important for him to have the other horses, to be outside, to have space. So, and to have the ability to walk. He needs that totally. He gets nervous when you put him somewhere like in a box or something like that. One time we had the situation that he had to stay for 24 hours inside, and this was really not easy. He can't do this. He can't take this situation. So he has to. He needs freedom, space, and yes, everything. So. Yes.
And do you think what kind of hay is, yeah?
That's so nice to hear.
Yes, it's really, and he's the best example that he really needs that. He needs the other horses. He is totally busy in doing his stuff with his friends and so all day long. So, and they care for each other. It's really important for him. He likes having control about the other horses and really care for them. And so this is really important for him. So, and that's what he does all day long. So.
And that's totally true. That is, people underestimate how important this is, not only for all horses, but just because they go willingly into their little stall, into their little cell,
Yes.
doesn't mean they like it, doesn't mean it's good for them. I believe we underestimate in general how important it is to have the friends, the freedom, and the forage, the three Fs. So important, and that's one of the things that was always what I was looking for when the last boarding facility where I went to look for Kira after she got a laminitis attack. Then I moved her. Then that barn changed so much that the group housing was taken out of the offer. So I had to move her because of that, because group housing is so important.
Yes.
And then the lady, she could only tell me, oh, don't look at the fences. They don't look as nice as the barn where you're coming from, because the barn where I was coming from was a really high-end farm with all the facilities until warm water, shower for the people, an indoor arena, which was 100 meter by 30 or 40 meters. Like everything was there. And now I went to a place where in my eyes it was horse paradise. Like, oh, they're 24 hours outside. They don't have stables. They have a shelter. How amazing. And she was like, just, yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't have stalls. And she was just making excuses for all the things that most horse people value. But I was like, well, I was just looking at what does my horse like about this place. My horse would love it.
It's sometimes we think some sort of human. Yes, we think like, oh, I think it's raining too much. He needs to go inside. He cannot deal with so much rain, but he can, and it's also nature. Yes, and
it's marketing. So, you need a blanket.
Yes.
Oh, you need a blanket for the autumn.
Yes.
Now you need a blanket for spring. There's so much fly. Buy him a blanket for the flies. So and sometimes some horse people are so drilled with this idea, they measure the welfare of the horse by the amount of stuff you buy for them.
Yes.
Oh, you don't have 10 blankets, you're not a good horse person. I'm like, well, I beg to differ, but or you don't have like all the sets, like, oh, your saddle cloth and your leg wrappings doesn't match your coat collar. I don't know. That's a really fashionable thing in the Netherlands. I remember that was so important. That was, and people judge you on that. Like, your saddle cloth doesn't match your jacket and your halter. You have one halter? No, you're not the worst person. I'm like, well, I have the best halter on the market. I have one Cavason that I bought from such a really, really great company in Spain. It was like 140 euros, which was a lot of money. I never spent so much money on a kind of bridal thing, but without metal in the noseband, with rings. I think I have that a Cavason now for, I bought it when Kira was, I bought it in 2009, and it's still so nice. The leather quality is so good. I'm like, I don't need 5. I don't need 2. I need 1. And yeah. And what about Ina? How is Valor how's his, where does he live? I saw a nice pasture.
Yeah. Was this pictures were on the paddock trail.
Nice.
Yeah.
So nice. I love the training you did with Paul. The video where you kept like going back to the center of the circle. That's exactly what you do in a really good reverse round pen, and that's also what you do in the reverse rectangle exercise.
Yeah, we started this with just protected contact with mats, then fade out the bars, then fade out the cones, and yeah, and then fade out more and more mats. So we are on the way.
Excellent. Yes, that is so good. And then how are you going to teach him to make the circle bigger?
I just put the mats more far away. I start with a smaller circle, so he was close to me. Then I put the mats more far away. Then one training step is accept that I am stepping more to the middle of the circle.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that a little bit different by teaching your horse to send away. But
yeah, I got it.
And it doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you do it in a way that your learner understands what it is, and as long as you don't get stuck into something.
It has to fit to this individual learner and the situation that you have with possibilities you have. And as trainer, I think it's always good to have not only one solution. You can think in millions of solutions.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the reason why I offered to share my shaping plans. I was working on it, so now I have 90 steps. I can add I can add more. This is a living document, and that's the reason why I wanted you to think about it first. Otherwise, there is this pitfall that you think, Sandra wrote this, I will just follow it to the letter, and then, or it doesn't work for you or your situation, or you get stuck because you are so focused on, I want to do it like what she did. But this is a guideline just for inspiration. What Ina already said, you have to mold it to your situations. In the beginning, I didn't have cones. So what did I use? I used little buckets, white buckets. You can see that in one of the things. Because I always carried the treats in those buckets because they were so nice, a nice small size. In the beginning, Kira was like frantically trying to knock them over. Maybe there's treats in there. So that was also one of the struggles that I had to overcome first. Like, oh, I have to just ignore the bucket. It's just as a visual, like you go around the bucket and I stay on this side of the bucket. So the cone, if you read cone, it doesn't have to be a cone. It can be an upside down bucket. Later, I used what I had. Like I had 3 tires and 1 cone. So use that. And so that's where I generalized also. And I practiced with Kira, for instance. It's not here, but to generalize go around the cone, you can generalize it into go around an object. Oh, there's like this standing thing for a jump, because in the last facility they jumped a lot. So you have those poles where you put those things in, like stander, I don't know. So, oh, there's one. And then there was like a barrel. So I just tried to generalize going around an object or going around the cone into going around an object. So I pointed, that was my body cue, go around it. And she was like, well, let's try. I know what to do. And oh, click and treat. I'm like, go around that thing. And she was like, I'll try. Oh, a treat again. And then it was so easy. Then I just had to point, and she was like, I know what you mean, because there is where I can get a reinforcer. So, and then that's something that I wanted to share at the beginning, that I lost my train of thought because I was frozen. But if you build this, like go around an object, if you build that, then in the end, it all comes together, and then suddenly, like you increase, like teaching your horse to walk around the square or a rectangle. That is the most difficult thing to do. Once you have the trot, the canter will just automatically almost follow, because your horse is like, I start offering. And then in the shaping plan, there's something else, but I didn't want to put it there because I wanted it to be a shaping plan and stay like a shaping plan. Every criterion that I put in there, you always have to ask yourself, okay, am I ready for the next one? And maybe I train criterion 3 a few times, but maybe the next time I start at 1 and then go, oh, skip to 3 because my horse knows what to do. And I always go with my criteria. I never go in straight line up, like from 1 to 3 to 4, very rigid. No, I go from 1 to 3 to 4, maybe back to 3 again. Oh, my horse has really a hard day. So we went from 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, she has a really hard day. She doesn't understand. I'll just go back all the way to 1. Oh, and usually that's 1, 2 clicks. And then, oh, I see she remembers. Then we go to criterion 2. We race through that criterion because then she remembers. I don't do like straight more. In every session, I lower a little bit and then I raise, and then a little bit and raise. Because in the little bits that you lower your criteria or be a little bit more relaxed about the criteria, you just reinforce the basics more and more. And instead of always making it harder, more difficult, you also want to tell your horse, you're doing great, and give that confidence that they know what they're doing is doing good. Any questions? I could talk for hours. So what we will do next week is I will do daily check-ins and see where what you have added to the group. Tomorrow I will send out for the people who made a shaping plan. Oh, time to stop. Time to stop. Maybe it's in the recording.
So again, what do we have to do?
For the people who shared 20 steps for shaping plan, well done. I will send you my version. It's a living document. It's not a rule book. Please just use it for inspiration. Then we will do daily check-ins, and tomorrow I will just go through the group and see if I missed posts, because sometimes I don't see the new update. Like yesterday I saw that there were posts like 2 days old that I haven't seen. If you share videos, make sure every video has its own post, because I cannot enlarge the videos anymore because you uploaded them directly to Facebook. Facebook thinks that I'm going to share them if I enlarge them because it's a new window, and they don't allow that because the group is private. So either upload them to YouTube, I can see them full screen, and otherwise I have to just have a little Facebook change something, so I cannot enlarge
then I
them.
will post my post again, what I did a half hour before we had this meeting.
Yeah, and yesterday you had one post, you had 3 videos and the other videos, literally they were like 3 by 2 centimeters. It was that, yes, I couldn't enlarge them. Then Facebook says like, this content is not available because the owner shared them only with a small group.
Yes, I, sometimes if you go back and forth, they come.
Yeah.
They they will get big, but sometimes not. But I will, my videos today, I will post them again separately.
Yes, please. That would be great. And please also tell me if I already commented on that.
Yeah, I will tag you in the video.
Yeah, and then on Monday we will. I have a file with creative training ideas, what you can do, and then Wednesday, Thursday is coaching on video, so I will do that. And then on Friday we have another 10 o'clock Zoom. That's the last one. Saturday is the last day, it's day 14. Then we will do a wrap up and feedback. So I will send you a little questionnaire. What did you find? If there is something that you would like to address, we have a whole week. So yeah, if you want to focus on the reverse rectangle because you see the potential, let's do that. I think we all nailed the, sorry about that. I think we all nailed the management part as far as we can. Ina, of course, it's not your horse, so that yeah, you can do suggestions to the owner if you like, but like even that track system is already really, really great. I'm really enthusiastic about that. So yeah, and I think all the horses are sound enough and healthy enough to start with the reverse rectangle. There's no one here that suffers from laminitis and has to start with in-hand walks, because that could be a starting point for some people. If there are other things that you would like me to address, like that is in the content of this course, let me know. If you want to know how to just, for instance, for Steffi, if you really would like to have like help with how to teach Amor to step under, like I already gave you a few ideas. Try them out. Try them out, because you can do that like tomorrow or the day after, and then you can give me feedback, like how did that go for you.
When I wrote it down today, I thought maybe this is one step too big, or I was really sure that this is really another task, a big task, yes, but it would be really important for his back to watch this and to train this. So I wrote it down too, but I was aware of it, that this is really another big thing. So
yeah, and it's not necessary for the reverse rectangle exercise.
Yes.
But what you can do is that you do like three times a week, 5-minute session, and just focus on like when he's walking, if he steps in his footprint or steps over. And that's just it. That's how you start. And you practice that until you really have the feeling he understands that. And then you can, for instance, by that time, he's already like more advanced in the reverse rectangle. So then you can pay attention to, okay, you know how to go from cone to cone. Now I'm paying attention to your leg. You can even stroke his leg and just, oh, he's stepping under really well. That's the click.
Yes. What really helps a lot is what you all also mentioned, is that you can make him aware of his hind leg before training. He likes having massages and like Tellington touches or things like that in this area of his body. And when you do it, it's really more aware of it in training. So that's also really something I really do a lot before starting any exercise with him.
So good. Excellent. Any last questions or thoughts before I go? Then I'll see you.
Have a great day.
Thank you. We're going to watch the salmons. The salmon journey.
Oh,
Nice.
that sounds good.
Yeah. I
So
want
that's
to
what I
go
will do.
too. Make a video for us.
What's that?
Make a video for us.
Oh yeah, I will. I'll share it in the
Make a
group.
shaping plan for them.
Yeah.
Well, they swim up, they die, they get eaten by bears and bald eagles, and then people come and look and make videos about that.
Yeah, really nice. Hope to see it once.
Well, come
That's
over. We have a
great.
guest house here.
Wow,
Oh,
nice.
You
good
are
to
all
know.
invited. You are all invited.
If the world
That's
is
good to
a
know.
little bit normal again, and I
Yes.
definitely will try to do that.
Absolutely. Well, have a great evening. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Nice
Training.
day.
Bye.